Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. Now, a killer who has refused to reveal the identities of two men who helped him murder a young woman is back on the streets of Britain. GBNews can reveal that Paul Asbury's release has left his victim's family appalled, shocked and traumatised. He was jailed for life in 2004 with a minimum term of 20 years for murdering Sabina Rizvi. But his two accomplices remain unknown. He's refusing to give them up. Sabina, who was 25, was shot in the head outside Bexley Heath police station in south-east London in March 2003. Asbury was also convicted of the attempted murder of her boyfriend, Mark Williams, a passenger in the car. A judge later described the murder as being akin to a contract killing. Now, during an inquest into Sabina's death, Asbury and Sabina had got caught up in the middle of a plan to shoot Williams, who was a convicted drug dealer. Asbury refused to name two other men involved in that murder after claiming that one was dead and another was now living overseas and that naming him would put his life in danger. Well, I'm joined now by Sabina's brother, Sony, and her mother, Iffat. Thank you very much for joining us here. It's great to have you on the show. It's much appreciated. Would you mind just explaining to us...
Thank you for having us.
Well, it's just explaining to us, please, really, the trauma that your family's gone through and how it feels to know that murderer is out and about again.
It's totally unjustified. And I do think that they have undermined the judge who sentenced him because the judge's comments were that he has to serve a minimum of 20 years strict tariff, right, before he could actually submit a parole application. And we are just totally devastated because, as you know, that I have been campaigning for the last 21 years to have Sabina's inquest, right, inquest resumed, because normally an inquest takes place within 6 months of somebody who's convicted, but her inquest had never been had taken place, and it was closed under the table without even notifying us. So whilst in 2019, February, I was able to achieve the inquest being resumed as Article 2. Here we are, February 2019, right? The inquest has been resumed, and Paul Asbury was approached as to be an interested person to help the judge in the inquest. He refused. But soon after, right, I'm notified by the National Probation Service that he has submitted an application, a parole application, to be released in an open prison. I was devastated.
Well,
right?
I can imagine, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It was devastating.
Could I just ask on this? Sorry to interrupt, but do you think that there should be some form of law, maybe, that if somebody who does kill people refuses to give up the names of their accomplices, that maybe they should never be allowed out?
They should not be. There is already a law, right? And I mean, I'm sure you've heard of Helen's Law. Helen's Law came about. It received a royal assent. Any prisoners who's withholding information in regard to the victims, right, they should not be released. But that actually only goes as far as children and remains. And but there is a clause in there. It does say if a prisoner is withholding information, they should not be released, right? Like I said, that when the parole application did go in, I did challenge that, and I did speak to Marie is Helen's mum, and she said to me, in fact, no, it cannot happen. You've got to sort of go down the route of submitting this, because Marie was not able to get the perpetrator detained into prison because the law was not there. I mean, Robert Backfield, the Minister of Justice for Conservative, he actually supported Marie, and he initiated the Helen's Law, and it received the royal assent in November 2020. right? So it was already in process. And but however, no matter what I was submitting in regarding to the challenges, right, everything was being ignored. I appealed as well. That was ignored. And the law is there. I mean, the thing is, my personal first-hand experience is there is so many things in place for victim family, right? The restoration program, which I signed on in 2005, never has taken place. I did right in the beginning say I want to confront Paul Ashbury when he was convicted. Never has taken place.
So could I just ask you now if it's possible and you're okay to do it? Would you like to try to address Paul Ashbury, directly in this sense now? If he was here, look, what would you say to him?
I would want him to disclose the name of the people. At one level he says that, another level he doesn't. I would want him to name those people, and we did ask that during the parole hearing, and he said that he was concerned about his safety, right? But there's one person he's stated that he is not no more. He's died, right? So naming a person who's already died and he's been buried, how can he be under threat from him? So why doesn't he mention him? And also the thing is, there's so many things I cannot disclose because I have given an undertaking in regard, which I do believe is completely outrageous, right? Here is a convict, right? He has been assessed, and that should be made public because he is on license. He has taken somebody's life, right? Yeah. So why are they disclosing everything about us with the victim's family, but everything in regarding to a person on license who's been convicted for murder is all secret?
Yeah. No,
we can't with anybody.
No.
Right? The public should know, right? He's a convict. He's on life license, right? And it doesn't protect the public by keeping, all secrets.
All too often. I mean, this is a really extraordinary case. It's an extreme example of it, but all too often I cover stories on this show where it seems as though the person who's got the most protection is actually the person who's committed the crime, as opposed to anybody else. Look, we're going to have to end it there, but I would just really like to ask you as well, just to come back on, let's just try and keep hold of this, because you're obviously not going to let this go. You've not let it go for the last 21 years, and I would really like to just try to follow this through a bit with you. So thank you very much for coming on tonight and spending so much time with us and enlightening us.
Yeah, thank you for having us, and thank you for listening.
That's all right. Okay. Anything we can do. All right, thank you very much. That's Iffat Rizvi there. Thank you so much. Now, we've got the Met Police Commander, Stephen Clayman, who has told us, firstly, our thoughts and sympathies are with Ms Rizvi's family. Despite the passage of time, the loss of a loved one in such violent circumstances is devastating. Part of the evidence considered during the inquest related to Ms Rizvi's interactions with police in the lead-up to her tragic death, and the coroner determined there was insufficient evidence to conclude any Met officer had deliberately or inadvertently passed information to the assailants, or that the Met knew or ought to have known there was a risk to her life. The details relating to any death following police contracts are rightly scrutinised. It is my sincere hope that the evidence heard during the inquest will bring clarity to the circumstances of the heartbreaking loss suffered by Ms Rizvi's loved ones. I've also got a statement from the MOJ which says, the decision to release Paul Ashbury was made by the Independent Parole Board after a thorough risk assessment. He's now subject to probation, supervision and strict conditions for the rest of his life and can only be recalled to prison if he breaks them. Right.